see so many of you here tonight. The Mayor and the London Assembly work hard to improve life for Londoners and make our city a better place to live. People's Question Time is your chance to voice concerns and ask the Mayor and the Assembly members what we are doing for the capital and for its people. And we're just about ready to start, so please first welcome to the stage your London Assembly members. And can you also welcome to the stage the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. I'm going to take questions from the audience in threes, which allows more questions to be asked and answers. I'm also going to ask the same of the Mayor and Assembly members. If you can keep your answers short and to the point, we can fit more members of the public in to ask their questions. Before we begin with your questions, we have a few introductory words from the Chair of the London Assembly and then the Mayor. So it's my great pleasure to introduce the Chair of the London Assembly, Jeanette Arnold, to address the meeting for 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Shout back and say, good evening. Good evening. Yes, get some energy in the room. And thank you all for turning out tonight. And can I thank the Mayor of Haringey for being with us? And can I thank our dear colleague and friend of mine, your MP, Catherine West, who's with us, and all of the councillors who are with us tonight from this great borough. When I look around, I find that people are increasingly depressed, confused and angry about the state of politics in this country. I was with some young people earlier this afternoon, and I was talking to them about how they felt, and they used words like, it seems like the world is spinning out of control. They said, well, we don't understand what's happening in politics. They just don't understand what's going on in the traditional parties. We have to believe and act that it is a force for good in the world. We have to stand proud in our identity as Londoners. We have to cherish what is good about our city. We have to cherish what a young person to me referred to as our rainbow capital. I look forward to hearing the answers from the Mayor. And I just want to say, in your hands here tonight, democracy is safe, and we're showing that we can make a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Assembly Member Arnold. And can I now invite the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, to give an opening address. Sadiq.
Well, thank you, Joanne, and not only for welcoming us here today, but also as the London Assembly member who represents Enfield and Haringey, for the fantastic work you do as the Deputy Mayor for Children and Young People. But also, Joanne is making a massive difference to Londoners' lives, helping to improve childcare and early years education across our city, often not advertised and not given the attention others do. So let's please show our appreciation to Joanne McCartney. Can I just say, it is also great to see two of the hardest working MPs in Parliament. Let's please show our appreciation to Catherine West and David Lammy. Look, friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming this evening. I'm pleased to be back in the People's Republic of Haringey. This event, as the title suggests, is about you rather than me. It's your opportunity as Londoners to ask us questions about the work the Assembly and I are doing. But before we get started, I'd like to quickly set out some of the key things we're already delivering and some of the big challenges we still face. My ultimate ambition for London remains the same today as when I first became mayor, and that's for every Londoner to get the opportunities to get on in life that this city gave to me and my family. We've already made a great start over the last 3.5 years, but as ever, there's still much more to do with major challenges ahead. Many families are still struggling to make ends meet. The housing crisis is preventing young Londoners from renting a decent home to live in, but also from owning their own homes. And we have an anti-London government that's pushing ahead with its austerity agenda. But despite these challenges, I remain optimistic about our future, because since 2016, we've already managed to make great progress, delivering for London and standing up for Londoners. This includes starting to get more council and social homes built than ever before, giving residents the right to vote on estate regeneration plans, introducing the hopper bus fare and freezing TfL fares, making transport more affordable for millions of Londoners, tackling air pollution, which is harming the health of our children, protecting the green belt, and much, much more. But there's one issue in particular I want to touch on right at the outset this evening, an issue that I know is worrying many of you, as it is me as a parent and as the mayor. And that's the terrible rise in violent crime we've seen since 2014 across the country, including London, with serious youth violence rising since 2012. Every death as a result of violent crime is an utter tragedy, leaving lives destroyed with families heartbroken. Of all the issues I deal with as mayor, this is by far the hardest, both in terms of the toll on our city and how difficult it is to tackle. Unfortunately, some people are using this to seek political advantage by blaming the wrong things and by claiming there are simple solutions. Sadly, the truth is there is no easy fix. Yes, after a decade of cuts in the police, it's about getting more police officers on the streets and being tough on crime. But just as importantly, it's about tackling the root causes of crime and trying to undo the profound damage that's been done by a decade of austerity. And that's why we're implementing a comprehensive plan from City Hall, being both tough on crime, but also tough on the causes of crime too. Because this is the only way we're going to make our communities and our city safer. I'm not excusing criminality in any way, but all the evidence shows that the causes of crime are deeply complex and involve poverty, inequality, and the lack of opportunities for young people. What's more, the cuts to youth services, cuts to schools, record numbers of exclusions, cuts to sports facilities, cuts to councils and the police since 2010 have made the situation far, far worse. So my plan is about doing all we can to turn things around, given the damage these cuts have caused. This includes investing £45 million in community projects to create more opportunities for young Londoners. It's about putting £5.8 million into local schools projects to give children something to do after school, including sport. and funding 1,300 extra police officers. We've already started to see some positive results with this approach, but nowhere near the progress we need to make. But I will always be honest with Londoners. This is a problem that we can't solve overnight. And ultimately, it will be vital for the government to step up too and to finally start to make things better rather than worse by reversing all the cuts they've made. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and I look forward to answering your questions.
First question.
Mr. Mayor, we've seen the increase in knife crime just recently. I'm wondering if you're going to talk to your colleagues up there to increase the funding for the police. Now, I can tell you something. When I went to the first question time, I saw a program which shuddered me, where there was a competition on television to make the most dangerous knives in the world. I don't know if you've seen it, but
So,
it's becoming something...
Can you speak into the microphone? Thank you.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it's becoming a kind of a memory that we're having programs that help make dangerous weapons available. But I'm also concerned that the police have been saying that there's not much funding for them. So how are you going to bring 13,000 men on? And how is the government going to bring 20,000 men on? And with the police running without money, I don't understand. I hope you can answer that. And permit me to say, ma'am, I would like to meet the person who spoke about Andy Burnham's idea. I don't know if I can interpret that in my own borough of Kings, my own estate of Kingsmith cycling project.
Okay.
Thank you
very much. Thank you.
Good evening. My question is to Sadiq. Please outline your plans to tackle the knife crime epidemic that has plagued London for the last few years. Please hold on. I'm very concerned when I see some police forces on social media celebrating stop and search and almost presenting it as the ultimate solution to knife crime. As an academic researcher in the area of youth, the results strongly suggest that some young people need support in all areas of their life, in their family life, in school, and in the community. So what are your plans, apart from stop and search and increasing police numbers, to actually stop knife crime? Because we know that stop and search, unfortunately, as good as it can be, sometimes it does alienate some members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to start with you, but can I ask both the Mayor and Assembly members to keep their answers perhaps a little shorter, then we can have more questions in this round. Mr. Mayor.
Well, can I deal with question 1 and 3 together? And I've got to start with talking about the victims of knife crime and the bereaved families. And I spend too much of my time meeting with bereaved families whose lives will never be the same again. And that's the consequence of violent crime. Actually, David and Catherine actually, but David's attended a funeral with me, met bereaved families with me. We both spent a lot of time with Tanisha's family locally. And it does break up families, it breaks up communities, and it's devastating. And we must bear in mind that there can be no excuse for using a knife on somebody, no excuse. But actually we've got to understand, and you've alluded to this in your question, the third question, it's a bit more complex. We can't arrest ourselves out of this problem. Stop and search by itself ain't going to solve it. And so we've got to ask the question, what's led to the increase in serious youth violence and the increase in violent crime? And actually, all the evidence shows that serious youth violence began going up around 2012, and there must be a link between youth clubs closing down, after-school clubs closing down, teachers being so stressed and under so much pressure, and the consequence of the cuts, excluding more and more children. You know, the numbers of children excluded in England and Wales has increased by 61% in the last few years. More than 1,000 children in London were excluded last year. There must be a link between that and what we're seeing on the streets of London and across the country. But add to that also the fact that we've had massive cuts in our police over the last 9 years. So over the last 9-10 years, we've lost £1 billion from the Met Police budget. This council, Haringey, has lost more than 60% from its budget. Our schools have lost more than 25% from their budget. And you can see a toxic cocktail which leads to the increase in serious youth violence. So you're right, sir. Stop and search by itself ain't going to solve this. What are we going to do? We're going to deal with the causes of the increase: social alienation, poverty, deprivation. Give young people hope and optimism. There is an alternative to joining a criminal gang getting rich quick. So we're invested in Haringey. You ask how? What I've done, and I was criticised by some of the Assembly for doing this, I've diverted business rates money raised from businesses towards a new Young Londoners Fund. And there are communities in Haringey benefiting from this new Young Londoners Fund, which includes after-school clubs. It includes working with schools to stop people being excluded, but also making sure we work with those children going from primary school to secondary school to give them the support they need. And let me tell you the 3 things we're doing which will make a difference. 1, Young Londoners Fund, investing in young people to make sure they have opportunities and life chances. 2, we have now in London, England's first violence reduction unit, using the lessons from Glasgow. You know, they reduced school exclusions by 81% and saw a reduction in violent crime by more than 40%. That's a difference a violence reduction unit and a public health approach can make. And the 3rd thing we're doing is, we're going to make sure we invest in the police. And so this year, by raising council tax, we've got 1,300 new police officers. There is a violent crime task force, and over the last 2 years they've been working. They've taken off our streets guns, knives and offensive weapons, more than 2,500, and made more than 8,000 arrests, leading to charges being brought as well. Now, I'm not saying I'm complacent. What we've seen in the last year is a reduction in the numbers of under-25s who are the victims of knife injuries. We've seen a reduction of moped-enabled crime in the last 2 years, and a reduction in gun discharges and asset attack. I'm not complacent in the slightest, but you'll excuse me for not being grateful when the government says they're going to give us £200 million this year when they've cut £1 billion from our police over the last 9 years. And that's the difference a lack of investment in our communities can make. And it goes back, sir, to your question at the beginning about the link between police numbers and the increase in violent crime. It's really important we invest in our communities. You here in this community saw the consequences of the riots in 2011. But you've also seen examples of young people having their potential fulfilled by investment. And we've got to make sure we give more young people the helping hand to have their potential fulfilled. Because if we don't help them have the potential fulfilled, the criminal gangs step in, and the organised crimes dealing with drugs, dealing with street violence will step in. And that's why I don't apologise for investing in county lines to make sure we stop county lines. I don't apologise for lobbying the government for more resources. I don't apologise for making sure we try and reduce exclusions in London. I don't apologise for pointing out that actually the causes of crime are quite complex, which require complex solutions rather than easy, cheap sound bites.
I'm speaking on behalf of Haringey this evening. When you're saying, Mr. Mayor, I'm addressing this question to you, sir, please. You said you were going to invest in the young people and all the investments. Sometimes when we do hear about the investments, it just seems so far-fetched for some sets of people. And I'm talking about the young people here of Haringey. When we do have the football and all the games that play at Spurs over, we are drawn back to reality. The young people is on the street. To this point, sir, I do now feel not safe in Haringey. It's so hard to get a follow-up. It is so hard to know who is dealing with your case. It is so hard to know if something is going to come of it or not. And sir, if you're short of staff, my company has made me redundant and offshore because of Britain leaving the EU. Can you recruit me, please, sir?
My name is Samuel Kitone, and I'm a small business owner. We've acquired a building in East London, and this building was vacant for about 10 years. We've converted into a mixed use, but on the same building, there is a church upstairs, and there is a cafe at the end. But we've put in an application. This application has been turned down because of the mayor protected area for employment. We are looking to employ people in this building, but now we have to submit an application to the building inspectorate, planning inspectorate, to go into a hearing. That takes about 6 to 7 months. My question here is, whom can I speak to be able to help us? Because we are looking at employing people. We've invested money, but we have to wait 6 months before we operate. Whereas the council is telling us that this building, we cannot use it for mixed use when we've got already a building upstairs which has been in use for 40 years, mixed use.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
So let me do all three questions. Firstly, on the local plan. So that plan, because it's, I don't mean this in an offensive way, it's quite small, it wouldn't come to the mayor. So I'm not sure who's told you it's to do with us. It'd be an issue for the council officers, councillors, and would be a local plan an issue. So it's something to raise with your ward councillors. You can go on the council website, find out when their surgery is, go and speak to the ward councillors who can assist you in relation to getting the council to relook at your application on the merits rather than going through the long convoluted plan and inspector route, which, as you said, can take 6 to 7 months and is quite expensive and causes quite delay.
This is a great event. It's where we bring the public in to speak directly to the mayor. Unfortunately, the mayor dominates proceedings, so he can say whatever he likes. I think he's very disingenuous. If you talk about rent controls, for instance, he was part of a government that said it didn't work. We wrote a report in City Hall which proved it didn't work. He's saying it because he knows it sounds strong. He has no intention of delivering it. We saw it with his 80,000 homes a year. He didn't do that as well. But what I do like about this event is that real people come and make their point heard, and it's a real great way for us politicians to take the temperature in any given area. So I always do it if I can.
Young people and the violence, what are your plans actually to combat this problem?
When you talk about young people and a culture of violence in London, there's a few things you have to be aware of. Firstly, it's a culture. We need to turn that around, and that will need a tough and a tender approach. So we need better technologies for the police, better training for the police, so that stop and search can be done properly. We can use scan and search, so they don't have to stop anyone at all. But on the other end, we should have a second chance fund. A third of all young people involved in a knife-carrying incident then go on to reoffend again. We need to break that cycle. Those same people have normally been involved in 13 different incidences. We need to break that cycle. And what that means is directing some of the money we have directly at them at that point of learning, to get them into education, to get them away from the gang life they have, and to bring them forward. And to be clear, this isn't only about gangs. There's lots of young people in sticky situations, not in the gang as well, but it's about showing them in real terms that we have faith in them, not just nice flowery words.
My passion is young people, that, you know, most of the questions, they are focused on housing, they're focusing on transport, but really, you know, we need to go to the grassroots and have question time for young people. Let them ask the questions, because things like crime, they are the most victim into this. So I think it's useful that I could voice my opinion. I can raise my question and get an answer, and possibly a contact. So it was very, very useful.
How about the economic question?
The economic question, I don't think it was addressed properly. They look at housing, they don't look at employment. And again, it falls back to the young people. So these young people, they're in universities, they're going to look for jobs. They don't look at supporting their businesses, which are going to employ and create opportunities for young people, and things like apprenticeship, which is going to allow them equipped and compete in a competitive economy.
Because you have got a project that you're developing, but you are having problems with the council.
Yes, I've directed my question directly to the mayor and his team. But again, you know, these things, they've got a lot of bureaucracy. They send you left and center. But yeah, we can only, as a community and grassroots, push and voice our opinion and do our best, and not wait for the government to come and intervene.
Hi, my name's Sonia, and I'm at the People's Question Time in Haringey. And today it was an interesting debate with the Mayor of London and 25 Assembly meetings. There were several topics: housing, crime, economic development and culture. For me, there seems to be quite a lot of issues around crime which were not addressed. However, one of the things that I was a little bit disappointed with, they had culture at the end of the programme, and in a borough like Haringey, culture should be top of the scale, which I think was totally ignored. Other than that, I think that it was a good turnout and people were sharing their views, so hopefully we'll see the outcome. Thank you.
What I got from this event today is that there's issues that need to be addressed in the community, and that the Mayor of London is keen to get this addressed. My concern, I would say, was to regards to the environment and the states. So they're talking about developments and demolishing and moving people out, but yet we're forgetting that before we start building new buildings, we need to apply circular economy in the sense of how are they going to be looked after in the end, and how can it benefit the locals, the local young men and women who are being drawn into this violence, or maybe they're just looking for a sense of purpose. So they need more support. And anyway, we welcome question time, more time.
We are finishing Mayor Question Time. We are from the Spanish-Portuguese speaking community. You have to remember that the most spoken native mother tongue amongst the African people are Portuguese, and then it's Spanish. And our community includes people from Latin America, from Angola, from Mozambique, from Guinea-Bissau, from Guinea Equatorial, and we are one of the largest communities in Britain, more than 1 million. And today, in this Mayor Question Time, we raise more than seven questions, because we have very important issues. The issues that we have been trying to be evicted from Seven Sisters, from Elephant and Castle, from the Amigo Community Center, the 399, and we want a London for all, where Africans, Caribbeans, Latinos, Spanish, Portuguese speakers all live together with the fit gentrification. Everybody should be equal, and we should respect each other. And we are very proud about our African roots, because every Spanish, Portuguese speaker like me, we are very proud of our African roots in our culture, in our food, and in our blood.